great challenge with Gen 3, and maybe just to talk to the first and second was, so the first generation chatbots, really infobots, were built off the same architecture and the same paradigm of most CX platforms where they were servicing humans. So what ultimately the CX platforms all started with was a platform that enabled or empowered human agents to perform more effectively. And to help them, what they were offering was knowledge bases and trying to get more sophisticated in surfacing the right information at the right time. So we were using AI and smart predictions and smart sort of assistance. And then we were using scripting tools and getting smarter and smarter with the scripting tools and trying to then automate a lot of the back office operational stuff with RPA. So it was all about how do we get the agent operating with that type of infrastructure. And then suddenly we needed to build a virtual agent. So if you have built your CX platform to serve a human agent, you then say, well, let's use the same infrastructure to build and service a virtual agent. And so what they would do is get the chatbot to learn off the same content that the human agent does, which is the knowledge base, guided through decision tree thinking, and let it self-learn. But what you start realizing is that is massively limiting. Certainly because your knowledge base is so generic, and that becomes then the food that you feed your bots, just the same as you've been feeding your agents, but they've been joining the dots. Your decision trees are extremely generic, and so your chatbot is limited by design, and it won't ever get out of it. What we could then do is to move it to Gen 2, which is really what we call a transactional bot, where you can, for example, ask the customer one or two questions and get something processed for you. So you'd like to upgrade your account or your mobile package. I can ask a couple of questions and I can upgrade you. But I can execute a request, a direct request from you. We can do it. The challenge with Gen 3 is that Gen 3 is a totally different animal. It's not just an assistant logic. It is actually advisory. It needs to be able to handle, as I explained, the breadth of possibilities coming in, going out with customers. And for that, you almost had to reimagine or rethink how do you build this logic. And again, if you've architected your whole platform on Gen 1, Gen 2 thinking, you can't get out of it. It's a bit like the car manufacturers. If you think of these traditional massive car manufacturers that have, for many, many years, built and differentiated themselves on petrol or diesel-based engines, and they have been brilliant at it. Everything about those engines and those machines are built with that having perfected being powered by, let's say, petrol. Now you say to one of those organizations, I need you to build an electric vehicle. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, let's look at what we have and let's then build off it. So they will build a hybrid. They will then say, well, we're powering our engines already with petrol, but what we'll do is we'll augment that with electric, and as the petrol goes, it will then charge, and actually it'll create a very sort of good hybrid, and they'll sell the hybrid concept. The challenge is, how do you get out of that hybrid concept? Even if you then put a full electric engine in, your chassis, every aspect of your build has been built with the thinking and the paradigms that were relevant to petrol. Very difficult to rewire your organization. Also, it's to rewire all where you got all your money. CX platforms get all their money from supporting humans. They get their licensing supporting humans. That's why their chatbots hand off to humans. And so there's no incentive to get a chatbot really unassisted, because it's going to cannibalize the human revenue. So in a way, they can't get out of that. What Tesla did is they started with the assumption that we're not going to even consider petrol. We're going to start with pure electric. And so their paradigm in how they built their chassis, how they built every aspect of their vehicles was with the pure electric thinking in mind. And that's why if you speak to someone who has a Tesla, there are very few of them will ever get out of that. They'll ever think of going to another electric car, because it is so brilliantly designed around those paradigms. We found the same with virtual agents. Is if you're trying to build a virtual agent off the architecture of the old paradigms, you'll only ever get a hybrid that always will require the human power just like petrol is always required for a hybrid to generate electricity. All roads will lead back to the agent. Whereas if we can start with a pure virtual agent that isn't going to need humans, the way we architect its brain, the way we architect how it works with different systems, actually is very different. And so that's what we found is not being almost hamstrung by the past, but being able to come with fresh eyes at this problem and design a platform that is based almost more purely on virtual agents working in without human assistance, has enabled us to see data differently, to see how we architect data and create data relationships differently. And I think that's been significant and why I feel a lot of the CX platforms are going to struggle.